Hello y'all, this is Hearts of Iron 4, or more accurately the developer diary for the country of Chile, who's going to be getting a focus tree in upcoming DLC for the game, Trial of Allegiance, which will be affecting South America. I think Brazil and Argentina will also begin a focus tree, and this is my first time doing a type of video like this, so we'll see what happens. And so we have an introduction here. And all of this is a work in progress. I believe there is some placeholder art. And we have just a brief history section that's shown off for Chile. And it says, as an effect of the Wall Street crash, the USA stopped importing copper and nitrate from Chile, which was the country's main source of income. This led to Chile becoming a South American country to be the most badly affected by the economic depression and the political instability, which only got worse with the depression, has not yet been solved. As Arturo Alessandri's term draws to the final end, the fascist movement is it's on the rise and the country widely remembers the coups of the previous decade, as well as the Socialist Republic of Chile in 1932. And let's now read just this history section here, and we'll just go through this. So seeing as most, if not practically all, people know little to do nothing about Chile, I will start with some historical context to get everyone on track and catch you up, hopefully also slightly increasing interest in the country. I didn't know anything about the country prior to being assigned to work on it either, so you can imagine my surprise when I got to know what to work on. But after reading about it, despite having no knowledge of the continent whatsoever, I actually say now that I find it a whole lot more fascinating than I ever did before. The few things that are widely known, the few things that are more widely known are Salvador Allende's socialist rule during the Cold War and General Augusto Pinochet's CIA-sponsored coup d'etat in 1973, but those are much later, so let's turn back the clock a bit. And so, yeah, Hearts of Iron 4 takes place in 1936 onward to like 1949 usually. So Pinochet and Salvador Allende, that's a lot later. In the beginning there was nothing, but somewhere around 3000 BC, the first people seem to have moved on. Jumping forward to the 16th century, Spanish conquistadors began to colonize the region of present-day Chile, and the territory was a colony between 1540 and 1818 when it gained independence from Spain. In Chilean history, the earliest period of the nation is referred to as the Patria Vieja, how do you say that, and the Patria Nueva, the old and new fatherland respectively, where Bernardo O'Higgins led the country to victory against the Spanish Empire during the Latin American Wars of Independence. From 1826 to 1932, Chile underwent many government changes, and the people got quite used to coups d'etats and political instability. And the Great Depression that began in 1929 was felt strongly in Chile, starting from 1930, and was felt all the way into our current game time. Chile was the country struck the hardest by the USA closing down their borders, as a vast majority of the Chilean economy revolved around the exports of nitrate and copper to the United States. So just like we read in that brief history section, and this all led to a coup that established the Chilean Socialist Republic briefly in 1932, which led to the former president Arturo Alessandri being recalled to counter-coup the coup makers. That is pretty chaotic. You have a coup and they're couped, and that is very unstable for our country, honestly. And once the Republic of Chile was back on track, he began working to restore the country, and that is where we find ourselves at the start of the game. Chile also took part in a few wars during this period, even winning conflicts in which they were outmatched. Example of wars that took place, they took part in are the War of the Pacific against Peru and Bolivia from 1879 to 1884, an occupation of Araucania against the Mapuche, and the Kingdom of Araucania and Patagonia that took place from 1861 to 1883. It's all very interesting. Have a read up on it sometimes. Too long, didn't read for the last two paragraphs. Chile was very unstable, but also pretty tough. That's where historical context. However, sorry for geeking out. Now it's time for the actual things y'all came for, the in-game content. And I'm sure you didn't all come for a history lesson. So we have an image here of Arturo Alessandri. He has a leader trait. Then we have Chile. He's a very important figure in Chilean history, and now, as is tradition with almost all countries that get unique content, he starts with a trait. Be aware, however, that despite staying democratic, he will not be around forever, as the election rolls around and new presidents need to be elected. So we have Chile here. Then we have all of the national spirits the country has, which they're not doing too well. They have a lot of debuffs, such as stability loss war support loss. They do have the Republican Guard, which seems pretty nice, and the Chilean economy is not doing great. My goodness, it's in the dumps in 1936. And then we had the Chilean Order of Battle, which has been adjusted to better represent the army at the start of the game. We have a nice Pickelhaube icon there. And I believe, I don't think it's mentioned here, but Chile has a fascination, it seems, with the Prussian military. I think that relates to a military mission Prussia sent back in the 1800s. And they wear Pickelhaubes in military parades and stuff like that. At least some of their units do. And we also have quite a few new cool 3D models. Always nice to see 3D models in Hoi 4. They seem honestly kind of underappreciated, but they really do bring it all together, honestly. And Chile has a few new generals coming to DLC, and a lot of these guys seem to be a work in progress. It looks like one is done here. They're placeholders, lots of placeholders, lots of generals. They do have, they have plenty of generals, I suppose, considering their size, and there's a plethora of political advisors. Very nice. And let's go on here. I mainly want to see the focus tree, and here are the various new industrial concerns for the country. Alright, in the focus tree, oh my goodness gracious, that is big. I wonder if that's bigger than Germany's. I don't know, but let's go on now. It's divided into the political, industrial, and military branches respectively. That's pretty common for focus trees in Vanilla Hoi 4. And we have all this focus stuff here. This is the industrial part of the focus tree. It looks like we have public works projects and dissolve Covensa, and with the leftmost part gives bonuses to resource extraction and trade. So it gives you resources, and you can devalue the peso, and that affects your industry. And then, as you might have or might not have seen in the historical Brazil dev diary, the countries of the pact share the general layout and effects of this military branch, but as stated previously, they all have their own unique quirks and bonuses, as can be seen here. So I guess Paradox has like a template they're using for the countries in this DLC. For the military branch, they're utilizing that. And we have some focus that's about the Army of Chile. Then we have, oh boy, the political, historic, democratic branch of the Chilean focus tree. And there's that. Did they do anything interesting? I don't really know. Sort of hard to read. And to start with the early stages of the game, Chile has to try and deal with the upcoming attempted coup d'etat by the fascist party, or as they were known colloquially, the Nacitas, however you say their name. Yeah, I guess Nazistas. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly at all. And suppressed Nazistas. And so there has to be a fascist path here. Alright, now what does this say here? As some of you eagle-eyed readers might have noticed, the first democratic focuses had to do with Arturo Sandri being the president, and after that comes the 1938 presidential election focus. This is because while you are locked out of the late game focuses of the democratic tree until the election has happened and you have chosen a direction to take your country, but until then you have Arturo Sandri's own policies to enact. And as the founder of a democratic Chile led by Arturo Sandri can focus on upgrading the industrial concern and gaining hefty advantages to the economy management. Then we have the 1938 election, and you have the 1942 and 1946 elections. That's going to be a thing for Chile. And so going through this more, you have the anti-socialist grumblings in the military, and there can be some interesting stuff here done by democracies. You can reapproach America, return to the parliamentary era, increase presidential power, and then we have protect Easter Island. It's just a Moai. What the world? That's quite the focus icon, I'm not gonna lie. Quite the focus icon indeed. And then we have their stuff. You can experience a terrible earthquake as Chile, and the sinking of the SS Tolton, it looks like. And we can continue on here. We have a bunch of potential country leaders. Pretty well done, very well made portraits for these leaders for Chile. And these are all the ones you can get from the democratic path, I guess. They all are very big fans of suits, but many Easter Island socialists. What in the world? Okay, Chile has their own operative. The actress Rosita Serrano, of course, provided You Own La Resistance. That is another DLC for Hearts of Iron 4. And now remember to focus increase presidential powers. Well, if you have a communist president in charge, when you take the focus, your country will become communist. This begins the communist sub-branch, as can be seen on the left-hand side of the democratic tree. So if you give the president enough power, the communists will take over the country. And then here you'll be able to either align yourself with the Russians and take the aggressive approach, eventually attempting to achieve Hispanic unity. Can you unite all of South America? I guess, maybe. Maybe. Sponsor American revolutionaries, and you can attempt to expand your influence through diplomacy and the support of communist revolutions in Latin American countries. And I was thinking of Spain for a moment there, my bad, and Portugal. But anyway, and now we continue away from the democratic branches and ponder for ourselves what if the Nazistas had actually succeeded with their coup d'etat. The Nazistas, they are the fascist group in Chile, and well, that's what we will figure out in the fascist branch, starting off with you securing support for the coup, minimizing your loss of stability, and war support once it commences, and you can finally take full control of the country. Okay, so fascist, tons of fascist stuff, usually a bunch of war goals. That is what they usually do in Holy 4. They invade everything, and once securing your rule, you have to shape the country to better fit it for your future ambitions. Yes, and then we have future ambitions and junk like that. Okay, so cooperate with the Operation Bolivar, abide by the Francoist model, so align yourself with nationalist Spain, I guess, and you have formable nations. Oh boy. This is where we really get into alternate history, I suppose. And both versions will have access to the small revision of our borders sub-branch, allowing for attempted territorial expansion gated by army size. Both branches have their own focuses that they can do, and in the end, you have two different choices of formable nations, choosing to either restore the old kingdom borders or going even further and uniting Hispanic America. Oh boy. Oh boy. And finally, we move on to the alternate history branches that may indeed have the chance to bring every Hoy fan's beloved monarchy, and perhaps also something different. Oh goodness gracious, pump that alternate history, inject it into my veins. Okay, so these two branches start off by looking back to tradition and to solve the issues the country is facing, and having the President and General Carlos Ibanos del Campo to perform a coup d'etat to take matters into his own hands. I guess this is the non-aligned path, maybe. I could be wrong, or it's part of the fascist path, not entirely sure. But going on, first we take a look at the leftmost branch, and that will allow you have a civil war, and with a combined force of the fascists and the communists on the opposing side. During this civil war, the outnumbered President Albanese, I can't say that, will be approached by a mysterious Frenchman who promises aid in exchange for the Chilean crown. His name is Jacques Anton Bernard, and will be crowned the new king of the kingdom of Araucania and Patagonia, and you have a new kingdom at the bottom of America, and then you can go further than that and become the Napoleon Bonaparte of South America, claim the Mexican throne. And so we have the final branch. We move on to a group that has lived in Chile long before the first conquistadors arrived. It's time for the Mapuche and the anti-imperialist crusade branch. And so this amounts to is the Mapuche nationalist movement. It will rise up against the current Chilean government. Once the war against Chile is over and you have secured the state, it is time to first reclaim the old Mapuche territory of Prelmapu, and then move on to liberate the Amerindian people from imperialist oppression. Oh boy. And there is a lot of work to be done once the crusade is started. Oh my goodness gracious, you can just liberate every single group of Native Americans in the entire Americas, it seems. That is one to work. Okay, wow. In the end, America can be free from modern states, and the government of the region can be reorganized to the desire of the leaders of the new Mapuche state. And you can also, what are these countries? The United Inuit States, Confederate Canadian First Nations, the United States of Native America. I hope all of these countries have their own flags. I really hope they do. And you have the Indonesia, Mexico, Indigenous Mexico, and you can just take over all the Americas. And it looks like the Kingdom of Rapa Nui. I don't know where it is at, but they have a baby in charge of a country. They have a baby in charge of a country in Holy 4. I mean, considering this is the same game that has, I think, a kindergartner in charge of Bulgaria, and one DLC you can get him as a leader, and you can have a bear in charge of Poland. I mean, this is kind of the next logical next step, I suppose, having a baby in charge of a country. And then now we have some different advisors, and we have Anton III of the Kingdom of Araucania and Patagonia. And just to explain what that is, here's one of the possible leaders, the starting leader for the ideology, and that is Jorge Gonzalez von Meris, El Jefe, and not sure who he is, but we have Anton III here. And just to explain what the Kingdom of Araucania and Patagonia is, it's just a little strange event in South American history. And what happened was, in the 1800s, I believe, a French lawyer and adventurer made a deal, or got the support of some chiefs of the Mapuche, and in return, they would, well, he would try and give them an independent state where they wouldn't have to worry about Chilean and Argentinian influence, and in return, he would be crowned king, and the kingdom was the Kingdom of Araucania and Patagonia. I don't think it was ever recognized, but that explains what that is referencing to. And this is all pretty well made, honestly. I mean, it is paradox interactive. It looks very interesting. I say that much at the very least. And we have basically gone over everything here. Very interesting indeed. And with that, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I may make more like this, but I don't know yet.